I'm such a sucker for like tubes with like green, like just green liquid, like nonsensical green liquids. Hey guys, we got merch.
Limited quantity drop. A limited quantity of items are being produced for the holidays.
Orders will begin shipping the first week of December.
All orders placed before December 10th will arrive before Christmas.
Check out the link in the description or shop the merchandise below the video before it's too late.
You guys have been bitching about this forever, so you better f***ing buy some. If you don't buy some stuff, then go f*** yourself. You. We are starting this episode off with a teaser. I'm excited. I'm going to be watching this just as new. Well, some of the viewers might have already seen it. So actually, in terms of real-time upload time, some of the viewers have seen this before I have, even though I've seen it before they have, if that makes sense.
The crazy ways of the world, eh?
Time.
Yeah, this is a new teaser. This is a teaser for our new show we're making, independently made. Like, we're funding the whole fucking thing with NordVPN and Raid Shadow Legends money, and this is a little taster for it, and I'm pretty excited, but it's also scary for you all to see it. So, I don't know. I'm ready to hit play when everyone else is.
I am pressing play in 3, 2, 1. How fun, dude.
You like that?
Oh, yeah. Man, looks so professional. Looks so well done. You guys should seriously be incredibly proud. My word.
Thanks, man.
I love the little, even just like the little secondary bit too of the kid going up the tube and he just kind of like bounces a couple times off the tube walls.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Like that's just like such a fun little detail. But even like the sequencing too of like, also the little girls getting thrown into just like a pit of fire is pretty funny. But just like the almost like Aztec sci-fi ritual of them like getting stamped and stuff and getting like basically what is it, like assimilated? Is that the word?
Assimilated
into this new thing is just sick. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Really fun designs too. I like the line weight you decided to use too.
Yeah, just try to fucking, I don't know, just not make it look like it was a big thing for Donna and I especially to not have it look like the Fox style, like pencil lines vibe.
Hate that shit.
So yeah,
Fox style pencil line. Do you mean by that? Do you mean just like super clean, or what do you mean?
Just like Family Guy and Bob's Burgers and all that. They have a uniform line weight.
Oh, like the line weight is always the same. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the part where it's the inserting holy globules part, and just even like the canisters on the side having like, I just like it almost, not that it looks sloppy, but I just like, it kind of reminds me of like some Ed, Edd n Eddy shit in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost like that 90s Cartoon Network kind of thing, which is fun.
Sort of a hand drawn.
Yeah.
This is the idea.
Yeah.
It's good for the world too, because it's it's like a grimy kind of grim dark thing. So tonally it should fit.
Yeah.
Well, I think you can do a lot of stuff, especially like just stylistically too, with like kind of like in a way, like I guess what I'm thinking is how some like whenever like One Punch Man or something goes like insane animation, it's kind of like sketchy, like really loose.
Mm-hmm.
I always enjoy that. kind of thing. Not that it would be that exactly, but you could have some fun with that and it not look totally different. Like if Family Guy tried doing that, it would look fucking totally out of place and stupid.
Yeah, we've got some fucking ideas for something like that I guess we won't share yet, but I think you'll like what we're gonna plan for that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
Such a fun teaser too, of just like establishing how these guys get made. You just get to see the flashing of their masks at the end is fun. Like it introduces the idea of these characters and you kind of get an idea of what they are, but it makes, like, at least for me, I'm intrigued to see like what is their first mission, or like what exactly is the show, like what's it entail, you know?
Yeah, does it get you kind of like feeling like the world could be more and like, oh, okay, fuck. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, it sets it up with that, especially just with like an alien invasion. Like these people are not from this planet kind of thing. You get that with the brilliant, God, I love that shot at 24 seconds of all the spaceships above the Earth. Beautiful pieces of art there, man. My God.
Yeah, the team, man, like
such a pain in the
neck. Fucking crushed it.
I think Nave worked it out, and 5 or 6 people made that shot. It's
you
like,
have to, I imagine.
Yeah,
it's just
so
such a monumentous, like, it feels like such a biblically large and detailed shot. Even just like the color gradient from like the atmospheric darkness of space with like the light coming down below. Really, really fun casting on that one. But yeah, no, I mean, it definitely has that way. It's going to be like the idea that there could be more is really, I think that's pretty obvious. Like, I think that reads pretty true. And if anything, too, it makes me think that like a lot of the people aren't just humans in their mask. It's like it could be like all kinds of different alien races that were stripped from their homes and force-fed balls and like transformed into these like mindless, raged, like killing machines kind of thing, which is pretty funny, which you could do some funny, I feel like that could lead into some funny stuff too.
Well, the pilot will absolutely disabuse you of that notion.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How so? Like, can you elaborate anything without spoiling anything?
You can probably talk about it a little.
The scene. So this is actually the first minute of the cartoon.
The actual.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is how the episode just literally begins.
Exactly. But basically, this guy who's being made, the very next shot, it like jump cuts to him being like dropped in like a drop ship into a fight. And it's literally just like a giant alien fucking massacre where they like, if you look at the hill they're standing on, it's just a giant body,
I figured that they were still, conquering stuff. So are they just literally all just like human, like mutated humans? Okay.
Human first.
Because I always assumed.
Well, we did talk about like, because, you know, it has some specific undefined heavy inspirations. So we talked about some kind of
so I'd have no idea what you're even talking about. I don't know.
Oh, good. Cool. Yeah. Well, that's the best art is probably that way.
I am a big Deep Space Nine fan, so
I know you never stop talking about it.
There might be some of these guys like another Legion that are a little off the beaten path, you know? Don't really agree with the mainstream Legions.
All their ways.
And that's I think that's kind of that is a funny idea. If part of their thing is they like use alien children, which would be unthinkable to these guys. I hadn't thought of something like that.
It is just like Prime 2. Like I want a statue of these guys already. Whenever you guys make merch for this, it's got to come in a giant like cube box, like not like no window, and then you get one randomly, like you're not able to choose. Like it's like the sarcophagus thing at the beginning, like you have to open the top of that. You know what I mean? And then it's just inside.
That is cool. I like that.
Yeah, that's sick. You take off the mold
thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like that's your deal. I just did a video on Cabbage Patch Kids, and it was like the way that they marketed that was so horrifically like like it was just so manipulative. Like you didn't buy a doll, you adopted them. And like they each had a specific name and stuff. But I was like, that's like a ingenious way. But then also the idea too, that's like whenever you buy this, it's like almost the person that's buying the figurine would be like transforming into their own like super soldier thing too. So then it's like,
Yeah.
you know, whichever one, which it'd be kind of cool too, because then it becomes like a rarity thing of like who gets the really cool ones or like who gets like variants that are like hard to come by or whatever. But
That would be sweet. I love the idea of the mold opening up. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's
I really want to
definitely-
it is like I'll be straight up with people. Like when we designed these guys, we wanted them to look like fucking toys. So
if you think about
there's
it,
so
though,
many
that's-
like
if you think
Sorry,
about
go
it,
ahead.
or I was going to sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, if you think about that though, just to interject on that thought, it's like a lot of great designs are thought of that way for like the mass appeal. It's like obviously like because they're trying to sell shit, but like at the same time, it's like I think that also indicates like just a really strong fucking design. Like the people who think about it that way almost always have like memorable designs. Like I think of like Small Soldiers or whatever and that kind of thing. Like it's like they're characters, but inherently they're just like badass toys.
Well, even beyond that, I mean, you know, not that there's any obvious inspirations, but there's
StarCraft.
the idea. Yes. In any case, like, yeah, it factors into the story as well because they are like kids who are basically like transformed into 30-year-old men. So that's both of the buying fucking toy markets combined right there. You know what I mean? So themically, it works like a chef's kiss.
I like at the beginning too, they're not killing them. It's like they're just trying to capture them to get more soldiers.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Because I was
Begs
thinking
a
about
lot
that
of
at first too, and I
questions.
was like, it'd be funny to see a bunch of them dying, but it wouldn't make sense because it's like they're trying to build their army up.
well, we wanted
That's
the
true.
shots
It's
to still
also
look
too-
crazy, so we added those shots in the back, and then it's a question of like,
Like
well, what are they
lasers.
shooting if they're capturing the kids, and it's just them like killing the parents, you know, in the
Yeah.
distance, the resisting
Yeah.
families.
I think it also justifies it too by having the close-up shot of them killing the girls. So that's like, if you do see them shooting things, it's like obvious now what they're either killing adults or they're killing like the chicks kind of thing.
Little guy in there.
just shooting them. hadn't thought of that.
And-
Yeah.
And collecting them in a bag to throw into a volcano.
Yeah, for the petty satisfaction. I had
really like
thought
how-
maybe those were misgendered when they sent them up in the ship, and he's gone back down with them in a bag. You know,
That'd be a pretty funny arc for one of the Marines is that they actually feel like a woman.
like they
or it's a
accidentally-
little girl.
they
No, it's a
accidentally
little
put
girl who gets
balls in
the
a little
balls
girl.
implanted.
I've always felt like a little girl.
Flash Kids makes trans commentary in their new show, Space King. I like that.
I love how big the balls are that go into the kid. It's funny.
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
to
for the
scale
longest
with
time,
a
we were just
giant
going to have
man.
the kid be fucking naked. So, but
Oh,
Probably
yeah.
good. Probably good you didn't do that.
Yeah, probably.
yeah. Well, you know, there's still the
Tom was
Patreon
pretty
ones.
adamant about
'cause-
it for a while.
Yeah, there you go. Do you want CP on your computer? Sign up to our Patreon.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm stoked you liked it, man. I appreciate it. In
Is there
terms
any
of,
fun voice cameos or anything in this that we can expect?
do you know what? No, we did basically every voice because I
Faster.
I just hate working with voice actors. Not because they're like hard to work with or anything, but just because it's like, hey, can I get this voice? And they've
Well,
got
it's hard,
lives.
and it's just like
Yeah.
3. Yeah, that sounds good. And then like a week goes by, and you're like, I literally have to have this to start the shot to animate it or whatever.
Mhm.
So it's like as much as I'd like to use voice actors too. Yeah, I find that a lot of the times I'm just like, holy fuck, I'll just do it myself. I don't give a fuck if it sounds stupid. At least it's like something's happening, or like, oh, I'll
Uh-huh.
ADR it later, and then I never do.
You remember how obnoxious we were to work with too when we first had you voice in our cartoons a few times.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like our style of writing, but we've always been kind of insanely pedantic, maybe to our detriment.
our style
about
of everything,
deliveries and
dude.
stuff.
Is there
Yeah,
any
Yeah, well,
part
I
of this
mean-
process where we're not? You know
Yeah,
what
at
I
least
mean?
with that, it's just like you want it in such a particular way. And then I'm also not a professional voice actor. So when I say it, I feel like I'm just doing it the same thing over and over again. Or I don't know how to change like the approach to it. You know what I mean? So then I feel like with like obvious professionals, they can have that like slight cadence or understand like, you know, oh, okay, I know how to like approach that, but I feel like with inexperienced people, which is also another reason why where people are like, it'd be so funny if you had this like X internet celebrity to do something, and it's like their voice has to be like the regular talking voice has to be interesting. Otherwise, I'm almost never going to do it because it's just too difficult to get that right take out of it.
When you feel bad, like they have no experience.
Well, yeah, because you're like, hey,
it's like,
sorry,
you're very wooden right now. You know, try again. Yeah, just shitting on somebody because they're doing you the favor of being in your cartoon.
In terms of, I do have one question. In terms of obvious and maybe unobvious inspirations, how original is this feeling?
I think it feels original. Well, to be fair, it's only a teaser. There's nothing there. I think like the influence that you're talking about, I think that like people could associate that, but at the same time, I don't. At least for me personally, I wouldn't be like that's the influence, you know. Or I don't want to say the name of whatever, but I just mean like
could be anything.
Like it feels like it's inspired by the thing you're talking about, but it doesn't like it doesn't feel like it's, I guess, taking from it. It just feels like its own vibe. It just feels like a fun sci-fi, like a sci-fi fantasy thing, you know, like which is cool. I think also I love the like if anything, I think that people would be more like, oh, this reminds me of the enemy, like Buzz Lightyear's enemy. I think people would say that before they'd say the other thing, or at least I would. I'd be like, oh, that reminds me of this. Get that.
Yeah, with the mouth, the way the mouth.
Yeah, with just the way the mouth is and stuff, which is fine. But like the other thing, I think that it's fine. And I think also too, as like the voice, as like the show takes shape, it's going to be so wildly different from anything else that people are going to like. It'll stand on its own 2 feet very easily, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty hopeful. I'm so I'm so scared, dude. Hold me. I'm so scared we're gonna spend, because this is like a almost 15-minute pilot, and obviously we are pouring fucking everything into it. I'm so ready for it to get 100,000 views, and I will listen, viewer. I will kill myself. Maybe I shouldn't entice them to not watch it. I will
Don't
do
watch it. Don't watch
7 more podcasts a week.
Wait till the announcement and then we'll watch it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like right now, I think that the biggest thing on YouTube especially is I think independent series are doing well, but I think also the longer something is, the more that the site incentivizes to push it.
Yeah.
So just because more ad rolls and stuff and that kind of deal. But I think that regardless, I think that it's indisputably a great thing. And I think that because of that within itself, it will have legs. Like it is something that I think obviously it will show that you guys care a lot about it. And I think just given that, it's impossible to not have that infectious, like, this is sick, and like want to show it to somebody, you know? So
thanks, man. Yeah.
I think if you have realistic expectations of stuff, which honestly, I still think realistic expectations of it is like, the way I see it is I see it sitting on a brisk, like 5 to 6 million is what I'm thinking.
Don't play with me, bro. Don't play with my heart.
Tell me more.
Tell me less. I've been in my head. It's been like, if this gets 1 million views, I will be pretty fucking stoked. Like if it gets 1 million views pretty quick, I'll be happy.
Well, let me ask you this: what is your guys' plan with it? Because you're talking about you're putting all these resources into it, which I think is good, right? I think that like you have to take that jump. If you never take that jump, then it's just going to be doing a bunch of like appetizers forever. And that's never the best trajectory plan. It might make sense financially now, but in the long run, those appetizers, people are like, I want a fucking meal. I don't want to just keep snacking. So I think that like the move you're taking now is good, but what's the legitimate plan? Like people who are listening to this now, who are stoked on this episode, like, assuming that you guys have already like written a bunch of stuff, knowing you guys, you have thought about like a season arc or whatever, but what is like in terms of actual production, is it going to be like, we're going to take a break, like we're going to take like a month break and hit the ground running again? Or is it going to be like, what can we expect for like a sequel?
For me, I think it's so dependent on performance. Like if this got 100,000 views, we just can't, from like a pure survival business aspect.
Sure.
We cannot do fuck all with it. Like, I
so
think maybe
so if you're saying, sorry to interrupt, just to clarify, so you're saying that if it got like, let's say it got 350,000 views, which won't happen, But if it got 350,000 views, would it be something where it's just like we're just not touching this again, or would it be just like, well, we can only make one a year or something?
I think it depends how much, like, because there's going to be a push on the end of it for like Patreon or whatever.
Sure.
So depending on the conversion, like effectively all we need is for it to kind of pay for itself, or at least show promise of growth. It depends on that, but in the other aspect, I guess my next move would maybe to use the assets we've made to make like shorts, 3-minute ones, 1-minute ones, like other ways to try and build intrigue and interest. And we'll always have this pilot for people to go watch, because I truly don't think quality is ever going to be an issue, but maybe like marketing or just getting people in the door, you know? So I don't know, truthfully, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, in my view,
Don?
in my view, currently, if you said 350,000, like, yeah, that'd be really disappointing. But a big part of the calculus of this project, like deciding, yeah, we can do this and we can make it, it'll be awesome, is a lot of the production design with the characters kind of all having the same armor and being able to front load the asset production and then being able to reuse the same characters for subsequent cartoons, you know, like a show. That kind of makes a lot of the production cost up front with all that assets and research and everything that we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be, you know, I don't want to promise it, because God, like the business damage like Tom's talking about. But if we got like 350,000 views, I would at least want to take a hard look at a pretty immediate but shorter second episode, probably, because to make one would be cheaper, and then you take a stab at building momentum off of it. But failing that, like Tom's saying, I think we do shorts, you know what I mean, and then build hype.
What
that
is
way.
the analytically, what is the is 350 like, so 350 in general is like, what is the time frame also for these view caps? Are you talking about like months? Are you talking about the first week?
Yeah, I view everything in terms of like, honestly, I was about to say first month, but I don't, like first week, because all the views are front loaded.
In terms
I think
of,
it might be different. I think it's different for this though, is what you'll find.
Right.
Like you might find that the first week maybe gets 350,000 views, you're bummed. But then you notice that because it is this, like, I think no matter what, it's going to be something that grows over time. These are the kind of projects that also people come back to, slowly trickle their way into different forums and stuff like that. People, the algorithm repushes it because of the time that is allotted on the video and the amount of money it's making for the site, etc. So if you're saying 350,000 views in a year, I might be like, that's pretty rough. If it's the first week, it's not that bad. I'd be like, I would look at it like, how long does it take to get 1 million on it? Because you might be like, first week, 350,000 views. Fuck, man. 4 weeks, it's at 1 million. You're like, well, shit. You know, this thing consistently racked numbers, right? Or even if it took 2 months to get 1 million, is that a negative? You know what I mean? Because I don't think so. I think on face value, you have your 1 million views, and it shows that like it has had a not explosive, shareable following, but now you're having people that are slowly trickling in, and you're having a consistent, probably more real fan base from it. You know what I mean? So I think it's just a way of like that within itself, I think is a way of looking at and looking at the success of it, of like maybe redefining what your success is, not compared to a parody or a short form cartoon that's kind of meant to go viral to be successful or to garner money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. What do you typically like? What about like Melvin? What do you look for? I know you've already done it. Like, you've already done enough to know the calculus, but what on episode 1, what were you looking for?
I don't know, really. I think like realistically, I was kind of like, if it's at 1 million, I was kind of comparing it to Monster Lab, I think a little bit. And I was like, okay, well, the average Monster Lab episode, I think it's like 1.5 million. And I was like, I mean, if it can get 1.5 million or at least compete with Monster Lab, that feels like, you know, that feels fair to me, I guess. But really, I've noticed that like it just grows. Like it does better than parodies over time. And like in time, if I keep making these, they will do better too, because the more episodes you do, the more you can put in that playlist. There's more that people can binge. You can reintroduce that content more and more on the platform, like season 1 compilation or whatever, or et cetera, all that kind of stuff. But I found that like generally those videos they're slower. They're slower and growing, but they do grow. They don't stagnate like a lot of parodies do. So I don't know. I mean, like, it's hard to say. Really, like the second episode, I was like on the verge of tears because it was just crumbling. Like, but the day before the upload, it was like one of those things where it was like, it's 4 a.m. I've gotten radio silence from the 2 people that I'm supposed to be working with. I'm like, I haven't slept very well. I haven't slept in like maybe 3 days. I'm like having like a fucking panic attack, and I'm like just like stress crying, or like stress teary-eyed, where I'm just like, I just wanted this thing to, like, I had a deadline in mind for this and I wanted to hit it so bad, and it feels bad to push it because of the amount of time and money that's gone into it. It feels like a failure within itself. So when I uploaded it, we got it figured out, whatever, but it uploaded like maybe 2 or 3 hours late. And like that within itself, I was like, okay, it's already handicapped. It's had a bad start. I should have just waited a week, blah, blah, blah. And I remember just like laying there and like, yeah, it was like 10 out of 10 when I first did it. And I just like was like, devastated, but just exhausted. Like I just like simply felt defeated. But then whenever I slept and like actually thought about it rationally, I'm like, oh, okay, like for like a original thing that no one really gives a fuck about, this is pretty good. And then after a while, it was growing, and now the second episode, it's performing statistically better than the first episode. It's like growing faster, and the first episode's at 4.2 million, and the second episode's at 4.1. So it's like, I couldn't be happier with that on it. Like 4 million views for that thing. Is it Digital Circus? No. But does it have to be? It's like, no, it doesn't. Do I need 100 million views? It's like, you would think yes to do anything, but realistically, no, you don't need that. And I think that if the thing is quality over time, I think people will just appreciate that. And I do think it can be something that's profitable in time too, once you gain an audience's trust. And also we have to think in mind too, that like, the audience that we're trying to capture, I think a lot of the time, is just such a different beast compared to those people's fan bases. Like, I think that we have to, since we did the heretic thing of taking the easy route with parodies, all of our fan base are people that probably saw 2 parodies and they're like, that's funny, and they hit subscribe, and then they never watch the channel again or whatever. So it's just about like finding that actual core fan base that wants to be a part of this thing and support it. And that doesn't mean too that like, well, I guess I say these things and it sounds kind of pandering, but I guess it's more so like the idea at the end of the day is is to make nice things and to have it be transactional in a way. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to pay for it, but we would want people to be stoked enough to be like, yeah, I want to pay for a shirt because I love this. And like that within itself is like, I cherish this shirt because I love this thing that they are making. And just getting like that kind of fan base to support it off of like merchandise, to where it's like AdSense isn't important. It's like, how do we maintain a fan base and cultivate that kind of profit that can like make more shit to where you don't have to sell stuff to big companies that just won't do anything with it, you know? So I rambled a lot there, but
no, not at all. I'm so desperate to have like a merch machine that displaces the needs to do like so many brand deals and stuff. At least to the scale we do them, because like we put a lot into those brand deals. Even though it's just at the end of the video and it's like for a product or whatever, we still bring like the same creativity to it, or try to. So if we had something that meant less work in that respect, that would be pretty cool.
Or and just directing that creativity for our own stuff, you know, instead of a brand. God bless.
Well, not even for your own stuff, but for your audience, I think is like, It's like the thing is like for yourself and for your audience. Because I think people also are just like when people see people doing sponsors and stuff, which to a point it is true in terms of sellout, but at the same time, it's like it just makes life easier and you're able to actually do the things that people want you to do because you can't just do it for free and you can't like. And the other thing too is people have this mindset too that's like, well, you have to do everything yourself or you have this chip on your shoulder, or I only support people that do everything themselves, which is fine and totally cool. But I'm in the business of like, I want to be able to like, support my wife, support myself. I like being able to give other artists work. I like collaborating with people. And like, that is only possible really with, doing what you have to do, like being an algorithm chaser kind of guy, taking the sponsors on until hopefully one day, you can like be like, we're so set in like maybe merch or if like that's the direction or even like a Patreon kind of thing where we have such a dedicated fan base there that like we don't have to take on any of that. And we get to like have that healthy transaction of like, they love what we're doing and we love that they love what we're doing. And that's like the beautiful harmony. But it takes time. I think it takes time and it takes, parasocial retarded fans. No, it takes it takes 12-year-olds. No, it takes it just takes time for people to see that they can like put their faith in that thing. I think is a big thing. Like, I don't know how many times I've kind of come around to this sometimes before too, where like I'm like, yeah, I like that thing, and it isn't until it takes a bit to where you're just like, fuck, you've won me over. Like, I'll buy a shirt or do, you know what I mean? Like, it just take like I think that you can't just do a one and done kind of thing. It has to be something that's like you press on it. You have to convince people. Sometimes you don't get to see the woman's pussy on the first date. You have to. I was
wondering when a Cream Crew episode was going to start.
There you go.
We arrived, boys.
We've arrived. I had to bring it in at some point. But yeah, no. It's amazing, guys. I can't wait. And I want the viewers to know, too. I think I've said it before, but I refuse to watch the episode until it's live. I want to have the same kind of release day reaction and stuff. And I want to see it on the day and kind of be amongst the viewers again and be one of the people to comment like I used to back in the day. As just one of the people who got to do it. So I'm stoked. I can't wait.
Thanks, man. Are you going to watch it in your movie watching room?
Of course. Have to. Especially with these big, beautiful visuals. It'd be such a disservice to watch it on like your phone. You know what I mean? Spend all that time. People are like, yeah, I watched it on mobile. It was okay. It's like, fuck off, dude. God. It's like, God. It's like watching Lord of the Rings on like a fucking iPod brick. Yeah, I thought the effects were kind of shit. Like, you watched it on a fucking half-inch screen, dude. Like, what are you talking about?
That would probably make the effects better, ironically enough.
Oh, from Lord of the Rings.
I actually...
Oh, no. Not the Rare Don Brewer.
I had a...
I spelled it. I insisted on the B.
That's true.
That's my contribution.
I got the Black Friday. I got a bunch of Blu-rays, and I got the 3 Blu-ray set of the Lord of the Rings thing that has all the bonus features and stuff.
I gotta do that.
I saw it there.
Tom did that.
It was like 60% off, and I was like, that's worth it. Like, fuck, like,
dude, 100%, 100 trillion%. Is there anything more worth it in life? Probably not.
No. I bought a shit ton of movies. That's the only thing I do every Black Friday is I don't ever go to anything, but I do go to Barnes & Noble and I'll buy Blu-rays and stuff because like they have a really good, usually all of their Criterion Blu-rays are like 50 to 60% off, or they have like weird buy one get ones on them, so you get a lot of really cool old movies and a lot of good movies.
That's funny.
For cheap.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of fucking delays and shit, like we were trying to get this teaser out for Black Friday to make use of it to sell a t-shirt and stuff, but yeah, never ending delays and fucking is savage. I think this originally we planned for this to come, the whole episode to come out early November, and it's now been pushed to January.
Yeah, because when I was talking to you the other day, I was like, I could have swore I heard you guys said that maybe it was supposed to be early December, but maybe it was November, like you were saying. But yeah, I was like sitting the other day, I was like, oh fuck, their episode's probably about to drop, and then I messaged you.
You clearly didn't spend enough time in Texas, me old fruit.
But it takes, I mean, it is what it is. And plus, it's one of those things, too, where it's like when it's done, you'll be glad that you took the time you needed instead of trying to rush it and shit.
Yeah, no.
With parodies, sometimes with parodies, I'm just like, you just got to rush it. Just get it out the fucking door. Who gives a shit? But with this is like a child, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the thing. I really genuinely forgot how much work all of the design stuff is, because we haven't really fully, like, knee deep done something like this since Motor Night. And that was that was like 6 years ago. So you look at it and, like, obviously we have a couple mysterious inspirations that are good guiding lights, and you look at it and you're like, oh, well, you know, it'll probably be pretty quick to figure out what this looks like or that looks like. But when you're making an original thing, every single decision seems kind of important, and you just don't appreciate sort of
well, you just care so much more.
Well, and so much foundation is provided, like, obviously, if you're making a parody, that you don't really
100%.
fully appreciate until you're looking at, like, everything in this has to be unique and not.
Well, even like with the guns and stuff, you were probably like, if it was a parody, or just like, yeah, it's just like a photon laser, or it's just a laser gun, whatever. But with this one, it's just like, is that what I want the look of the gun to be? Because then you got to care about it way more. Because then it's just weird. Because then it's like, okay, episode 2, we like these guns way more, and people are like, why did the guns change randomly? You know, it's like,
exactly.
You can't do that.
Or the fucking the ships. You don't really see them that much in this episode. I think all you see them is what you see in the teaser, and you see them from, like, behind. But getting that fucking ship right in a way that both me and Tom agreed on, it was probably, like, the hardest part in the design of anything so far.
The ships, you said you think the ships were just like the hardest one for sure.
Yeah, just it's so surprising. Like, it's such a unique design challenge, because it has to be really massive, and it kind of needs, like, a lot of little details, and then all the details have to make sense, and obviously it has to not look fucking stupid. So yeah, I have, like, dozens of sketches of different ships and, like, iterations and stuff, and we finally landed on that one. It's probably like 40 or 50 hours literally of, like, thinking and sketching.
How just kind of at least this is something I'm curious about. How was the butting of heads trying to get this thing in alignment with, like, both of you guys? Did you find, because for people that don't know, you guys have, like, the interest that you do share. I feel like you share a lot of the same taste and opinions on things. I would say the things you guys don't share opinions or tastes on is very minute. But I feel like with, like, this kind of subject matter, I'm like, oh, they're probably seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. Was there, like, some back and forth with stuff, or was there any kind of, like, frustration building with, like, trying to appease the other person, etc.?
I think I'm surprised and appreciate a lot how much natural alignment we do have, you know, especially working with, like, other people, like people that are helping design the assets or backgrounds and stuff. Like,
well, that's what I was wondering too, is, like, people who are doing those designs, I feel like collectively you guys are probably saying the same things. Like,
yeah, and it's very work. Interesting. You know what I mean? Like they'll put it forward, and without really ever having explicitly talked about that thing, me and Tom are typically in sync, like, on what it should have been. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. But it was also, you know, it's like when you're coming up with something like this, there are kind of overarching tonal things that are hard to lock onto. And I think what it will be and what it is really is sort of like a melding of our two opinions in the ways that they were different, and we've kind of, like, met in the middle, you know? It's kind of like, I think all of our stuff has kind of always been that way. It's kind of like, it is the butting heads, and then Flash Gets is what you get sort of between the two powers of will, you know?
If you guys have been together this long, I think that it's impossible to not have that, I guess, is like, it, like, I think that you have curated each other's, like, you have, like, kind of grown, and the taste that you all have is similar in that way, because, like, you guys respect each other's opinions on, you know, the creative side of those decisions and stuff. So I feel like if you've worked together that long, it's probably impossible to not share a lot of the same thoughts, just because it's like if you didn't, then there's no way the relationship would have worked, you know.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense.
And I think that also it's like you kind of bend the knee. I think you can bend the knee too, and you can kind of be like, yeah, this does make more sense. And I think that like you both learn, like when you have that kind of partnership and stuff, you kind of you learn about maybe like not necessarily some of the weaknesses you have, but like the weaknesses in like maybe the creative decision or choice of something, and you can appreciate when the other person like brings up something and you're like, oh, that is a good idea. And you can like step out of your way. Because so much of that, I think, with people who are trying to collaborate and do those things, so much of it is like ego getting in the way of that stuff. And I think that like you really do have to like lose that and be willing to be like, that's a superior idea. And then by doing that too, I think that it helps inform future decisions until those decisions become almost in unison all the way through.
I think that's probably one of the key things for any budding partnerships out there, civil marriage or real marriage, is just knowing that it's the place the person comes from is usually for the benefit of the product, the end product, and not necessarily like a play it like, well, this is my thing, so I like it more. It's always like, no, this is what I think is best for the end product. And I think that's how you can like have the trust to not get like mad about shit.
Also, the people who are vocal like that in that snotty way also usually have shit opinions and stuff because they've never played nice and have never actually learned and grown from like people telling them like that's a bad idea. You know what I mean? So they've never been like, you know, put in a position where they can like use the inspiration of someone's like critique and like make a better decision, creative decision. So yeah, I don't know.
I think looking at this, the only one thing that answers your like question in terms of like a lot of back and forth, I wouldn't say butting heads, it's never anything like that. And this makes the most sense for it to be the most talked about thing. But the armor design, honestly, was like took a long fucking time, as it should. But I remember for a while, like we had a disparate opinion on like whether it should be more kind of like rounds like this or that more like taller lean one. Do you remember?
Yeah, definitely.
Don, the one with the fucking, do you know what I'm talking about?
Is that the one that I saw? Like, did you have that on an iPad? I feel like I remember seeing something like that on an iPad.
Yeah, the blue one. Yeah, just for a long time, it was hard to see how they could really have pretty objectively stupid proportions and also be cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was one I had to come around on. It took a long time.
Well, one thing although
it actually is in the middle, I think. I'll have to go back and check. I'd have to go back and check, but I think originally their like legs were way shorter and their helmet was bigger, like almost like
I mean,
chibi looking.
None of my that's the thing, is Don is such a technically sound artist that like anything I could like think of, it's just gonna get made like exponentially better through the process of like obviously like when we collaborate, but Don just like anything you do, you're gonna make 7,000 times better in the first place. I might be like, I think they should have a dome helmet.
Well, that's
and
what
then you do it, and it's like, oh wow, that's like way better than what I was thinking.
Well, that goes back to like the voice actor thing, when it's like you have an idea or whatever, but then if you get like an actual person that knows how to incorporate like the thought that you're having, it activates neurons in their brain too, to be like, oh, okay, I know what you mean, except they maybe do it in a way that's obviously stylistically better just because they're more like profound in that area. So it's nice to have that kind of thing to where you can like, it's nice to have that kind of partnership where you can like drop little inklets of like ideas or like, what about this? Because sometimes you need that shit, like that super simple back and forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it reminds me of
we do that a lot.
The value of a good composer. You know what I mean? To a director, like for that's really one of the most valuable things when we find it and have it for our cartoons, is a composer that like is super competent, but also can kind of figure out what we want. You know what I mean? Like kind of has similar tastes, but is obviously way more musically, trained to understand better and like do cool things that we wouldn't have thought of.
Oh, I think the suit armor looks great, man. I think that it was funny. Like even just watching the trailer here, it makes me think about when you had to redesign Stan and stuff too, and just like thinking of like how to make it more animation friendly and stuff. And I was like, did you feel like you had to do some of those rounds again too? Of like,
big time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did it feel like maybe too complex at the beginning, and then you had to like reel it back to where it's like, this is animation friendly, but it still looks cool, like kind of like that deer you're talking about, where it's like cool but also cartoony, like it's like that blend, like that nice blend.
It's kind of funny.
The one that jumps to mind is the shoulders. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Don. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, the shoulders, but also even the shading. Just coming from the style we've done for 10, 15 years on Flash Kids projects, like. I really like and enjoy shading and making really finished kind of, like beautiful character models. They can be that way because it's going to be puppet animation and they don't have to be frame by frame. So that's always been like one of my favorite things about Flash animation. But for a show and like all the assets you need and all the artists you're going to have to work with, shading gets harder and harder because people look at shading differently and it's like much harder to reconcile styles. And obviously it also just fucking takes too long. It isn't worth it.
Then you're talking about making it a design Bible and having to like write specific rules about shading, and like that within itself is such a long, you don't have that kind of time.
So the sort of like maybe 6th or 7th iteration of these guys and their armor that was fairly final, like it was to the point where we started designing the various characters off of the same template of the armor, that was shaded for a long time. And I got really attached to that just by exposure and being satisfied with it initially. And it was really, really hard to then in the end, like make them not really shaded. Like they have a couple spots of shading and highlights, but not really, they're not really shaded. Like they're fairly flat. They're just colored red. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I look back and like it looks so much fucking better. Like I kind of like hate how they looked shaded. It's like it's so much more clean and iconic.
It's just funny how the simplism, like the simplistic nature of that, of it just having it be a flat thing, makes it so much more approachable sometimes. Because I think that the detailed shading thing that you're talking about works really well too. Like I love the video you guys did back in the day where it's you designing the bike and stuff. And that's like one thing I think you're really good at is like doing highlights and shadows on like metal and like kind of like I guess just like different kinds of metals and stuff. And I think it looks good, but I think at the same time, the designs in this, though they weren't as like, because that's like one thing I thought, I was like, oh, I'm surprised there's not like tons of highlight stuff. Cause you usually do, you have like the highlight strip because it just makes it look more metallic. It makes it look more like a hard surface, but I think it worked really well in this. It didn't feel cheap at all, I guess, if you're concerned with that.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's like such a battle to capture that, like to make it simple, but also still feel like it looks cool, and you really are like, it's like killing your babies, killing your darlings or whatever.
You still do get some nice, I like a lot of the rim lighting that you did on it too, with like I think is all the rim lighting comp, or is it in Flash too? Isn't that just such a nice? I love it. We've been doing comp for a long time.
You've been doing this stuff forever. We've just like dipped our toes in, and I feel dumb we haven't done it earlier.
It's just stuff's like beautiful. It's a very subtle thing that takes time, but it can add such a great vibe to like these animations and stuff. Just like a little bit. Like not because the thing too about comp is you can totally overdo it. Like you can really overdo it and it can fuck it up. But I think like the more subtle, the better. Like you're hiding in plain sight. Like you wouldn't even notice that it was there. It's just blending so naturally. It's like the perfect spot to be in. And I think that this does it really well.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Man. That's been tricky too. Because you get comp artists that are like way too accomplished for their own good. And want to do 1,000 things, you know what I mean? And
you have to reel them back because at the end of the day they're having fun with it. You know, it's the same thing too. Probably with like designing cartoon characters or doing whatever. As like you can go overboard just because you're like, I'm having fun and this looks good, but it's not practical. Or especially with the comp people I found is they're like, everyone who does comp loves to do like big bold colors and like really loud stuff, and sometimes it's just worth being like, no, just really subtle, like take out all this shit. And they're like, what? Why?
It made me feel bad for the comp artists. The
That's
comp,
okay.
the comp people on this side, fucking. You should see the like starting shots versus the ending shots. Pretty
It really
impressive.
does. It's kind of like another way of like kind of how audio makes everything happen. Like it could be beautiful
Mhm.
animation, but until you add like music and sound, it feels hollow. Sometimes comp can be that way too, where you're like, yeah, it looked okay before, but it looks fucking great now. Like it really feels like a finished product now, etc. Oh, that's cool. I like
Yeah.
how I didn't notice that in the shot just because his sword was in the air, but I like that it's translucent.
Yeah, the plastic thing.
Yeah,
I
that's
do
fun.
like those, like Tom was saying, like the old Optimus Prime action figures. He had like pink plastic weapons.
Yeah, I it made me think of Gundam right there.
Mhm. Yeah, the beam
Some of
sword.
those like Gundam swords.
I
do think the medic-
fucking lasers too.
The medic design is really, I think that's my favorite. Really fun.
Yeah.
I'm also
It's
such a
funny,
sucker. I'm such a sucker for like tubes with like green, like just green liquid, like nonsensical green liquids. I don't know. Aesthetically, I love that. Like that was like a huge thing. Like, did you guys ever watch Batman and Robin back in the day? The one that has
Yeah.
like George Clooney and Bane.
Oh,
I just liked how
Bane.
Bane just had like his whole neck was just covered in like stretch marks and like basically like poisoned skin and stuff. And he just had like a giant, like these giant tubes of like poison that went into the base of his skull. It's just like it's so sick, so impractical. And like he like presses a button on his chest, and that's what like sends the poison into his brain. So sick.
You're gonna like the skeleton guy even more then because he's got one of those on his chest.
Oh, I
Yeah,
sent him
that's why
the-
that's why I brought it up.
sent
I'm
him
looking
the-
at it right now.
the previous one with just all the shading and shit. Just genuinely
It's like it makes
really
it-
looks better without it.
It's like it makes it look more dimensional, but it's like I just think like the flat just looks better. It's just way more. It's just simple. It's like easier to look at too.
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on that, but I think you had it right when you said approachable. And I can't really understand why that makes sense, but it seems like the word. It's like, I don't know. Just it has like
I don't know.
What's like a
friendly
it's like
toy
the-
vibe to it.
I wasn't saying this document you're showing. I don't know if you want to show it on screen at all, just to give reference to the shading thing, like you were talking about, Don. But that top left face is really good. The guy's face, kind of like that
Oh,
Doom
yeah,
guy
that was-
face or whatever.
That was Tom's design. Actually, yeah,
That's really good, Tom.
I love that
Yeah.
design.
Thank you.
I'm always a fan of like the really thick burrowed, like thick brow, like a thick muscled brow, like Doom guy kind of aesthetic thing.
He didn't make the
It'd be
cut
kinda
for
fun
the
to
main
see.
cast, but
Do you
one
think
of
we'd
the
ever-
cartoon.
Sorry, go on.
Do you think we ever get to see the POV of inside? Kind of like, like there's some Star Wars things. I mean, I'm not a big Star Wars guy or anything, but I always thought it was interesting the shots of like from Darth Vader's perspective in his suit. Kind of like Iron Man thing where it's like you see his face inside the suit and you get to see like what they see or like the little gizmos and gadgets. I didn't know if you were going to try to play into like, is this
I think
supposed to
we
be
probably
more
would.
figurine based or is it more like video game inspired? Because if it's more video game inspired, did you ever see yourself like they can like read their own vitals through their like own kind of Doom guy face, like kind of in Doom
Well,
when
it's fucking weird because they don't look through their eyes. Their heads
Yes,
line up with their mouths. So
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
what the fuck is going on in there?
Well, that's what I mean is like it'd be fucking sick. I mean, this is just I like when things are like overtly complicated and don't make any sense. Like if you looked inside their mouth, whatever, and it's just like all of these like tubes and wires and like it's just like looks like a fucking constant panic attack. And it's like, what do you even look at? But it's just like the impracticality, but it just looks cool. I didn't know if you were going for that, or is it just literally they're looking through like a translucent. Like they can see the bars of the teeth, but it's like a two-way mirror or something like that.
I just don't know. Like,
Hadn't
I've not
thought
even
about
thought
it,
about it.
yeah.
I don't know about you, Don. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I figured it's somehow like a screen on the back of the grill that they're seeing, and like the eyes are cameras or something, which is just so unnecessary. Like, why not just make a helmet that fits? But
Yeah,
Well,
well,
my-
that's
yeah.
why I like that impracticality of
Yeah.
it. Like it's just kind of funny.
I kind of
It's also
liked the. It's really stupid, but I liked the idea of like I don't know if you've ever seen like in a film where they do a shot from like inside the knight's helm perspective.
yeah,
and
that
it's really like obstructive. That's
Yeah.
kind
It's
of
like
funny to me too.
it's like 80% of the screen is black, and there's just like slits where you can see out of the. I
like
love that.
that to me is really funny too. It's not even like technologically advanced. It's just
Oh, they're
fucking
just
messy.
looking
kinda-
through the grill. Just
Yeah.
What I'm saying is like if they're looking through the grill deal, it's just like all black except just like the fucking 6 bars that are their teeth.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. There's appeal to both options, like
Yeah.
that or the ultra tech. Like I like it all, but
We're kind of wrapping up on the episode here. I do have a couple more questions just in terms of like what to be expected that at least I'm curious on, and maybe some of the viewers might be curious on, is like in terms of like the warfare and stuff. We see lasers and stuff. Is it going to be primarily sci-fi, or is there going to be also like there's obviously both sci-fi and fantasy, but have you found yourself skewing more so to one side versus the other?
I guess to me, there's no like, it's more of a spectrum than a binary. That's also intermelded and blended. That, like, if you look in that teaser, there's like the alien's got a fucking cape and a crown on.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I guess I say that in terms of like I mean, you know me, I like fantasy stuff, and like just seeing the sword is cool. And I didn't know if like you're like, oh well, we more so have been kind of doing more fantasy, like fantasy to sci-fi. So like we have guns and stuff, but we like doing a lot more of the sword stuff, or you know what I mean? Like just I guess that was my question, like kind of like because it's definitely like a spectrum of like it is in space, but it's like castle, or like you know it has like that kind of like dragon and castle vibe to it, which is fun. But if it was me, I just know like from my perspective, I would be like just doing like they have all this high tech equipment, but yet it's still so primitive how they fight, which I think is fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's just out of shot there, but if you see like coming into frame on that picture Don sent, there's a fucking mace. So all of them have like close combat weapons too, because it is just like more fun.
Oh yeah, I see.
So there will be like,
It's just also it adds to the impracticability of it. But yeah, I just didn't know if oh yeah, that's cool. That's fun. It is insane how many props there are that you just never think about. Like you saying that earlier, Don, for even like this Melvin episode, which is in nowhere near as intense as this show. It's just like all of like the minuscule things where you're like, oh my God, we do need that. Like cans or, you know what I mean? Like who fucking knows? Like all this kind of shit.
And it is just, kind of important what the can looks like. You can't just have a can.
Well, because then you have 3 different people. If you don't do it, you have 3 different animators who are doing it all different ways. And then you're going to have to decide on one and then have 2 people go back and change it. So it's just like, it is important. All of these things are like really important. And by we put more time into design even on Melvin, and like it saved such a headache. Like there's no questions. It's just there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that within itself is like, that's worth just the time and effort to put into it, is just to not have that confusion. Because at the end of the day too, with a lot of animators, and especially even as like a director or as like a showrunners, or, you know, these people, when you're working with people and you're getting people that like, when you're paying these people, and in the same way too, you're trying to keep the peace and you're trying not to like piss them off, because your life is in their hands in a way. It is a team effort, but you're also almost like begging them to just be like, please hit this on time or whatever. So if it's like a headache and stuff, it's really easy, I think, for people to, or at least for me, I always make up deals where I'm like, oh God, they're going to get pissed or something. And you know, I'm always kind of, scared that I'm like fucking
asking
people
too much.
Yeah, asking too much, or just being like not prepared enough, and you just look kind of stupid in front of these people that maybe you want them to work with you more, but it's like, why would they work with you if you're just totally incompetent? So it is nice to have that, and I'm trying to put more effort in that in the future, which, you know, it's impossible to do it to this degree for all the short parodies and stuff, but for bigger stuff like this, I think it's definitely worth it.
Well, I think this really sounds like a corny line, but it's absolutely true. Just through learning like leadership through leading projects, like, well, this specifically has taught me a lot, so much. But the line of like, you have to prepare people for success. You know, like you have to give them enough, like set people up for success. Because if you don't give them, like Don's spending a lot of time right now doing like a style guide on these characters, because again, it's like things you wouldn't even fucking think of until it's animated.
Mhm.
Like these guys' grills are open. When they look left, do the eyes on the helmet also look left? Or do they stay still? When they open the grill, do the eyes glow or do they not? Just shit like that you can't even think of. So you have to like help
you never
people.
you never think about it, and all you ever do is you see that shit in like old shows, like SpongeBob or something. They'll have that stuff, and you're like, you never even think about that being applicable to you now. But then you're like, well, no shit, no wonder they were doing that, because you have to have that. Because to go and talk with those people individually would take so long to be like, all right, here's the rules. It's like there'd be such a waste of time.
Yeah, it's funny too. It's like Tom said, it's stuff you would never think about, but it's stuff you intuitively know instantly if you're asked. But no one else has your brain or has the same intuition. So you're constantly surprised. Like, why did you draw it that way? It's like this. Well, it's like, they don't fucking know, you know?
Yeah, it's the same way about being like, paint a red mountain, and then someone paints it and you're like, that's not what I meant. You know what I mean? You're like, not like that. You're like, what? It's like, no one can know how you're even like perceiving the most simplest of things. You really do have to have those rules. But honestly, I'm glad this whole episode was us talking about this. I think it's exciting, man.
Shop talk, bro. It was the first genuine shop talk episode.
It was a real shop talk episode. There was no complaining or whining. It was just, we just kind of, we did it. You did it, Tom.
Well, I got to, at least for me, selfishly, I got to just look at it like, you know, how I'd watch your stuff before I knew you guys and stuff. So it's fun to see these, it's fun to see this project come forward. And I think that it's good to take appreciation and take time to, you know, talk about it, because the viewers might not know. I know that we all like to joke around and stuff like that, but legitimately, I'm very, very proud of you guys. And I think that like I want people to also watch this and respect it for the amount of time and energy, because this shit, I know that like a lot of the stuff is like funny and, you know, it's it's all jokey, but the amount of effort and stuff that goes into this stuff it's just a lot. So it's nice to take time to appreciate your guys' work, and especially my friends' work, because I think we deserve, I think you guys deserve that. So I'm stoked. I think that also, we should put a link in the comment section and like description and stuff too. So if you guys are wanting to watch it, because I'm assuming we'll play it during the episode too, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you guys can just go watch it also on the channel itself, because that will obviously help it in the algorithm too. So go give it a like there and make sure to do that. Is there any other promo stuff that we could do now before or like while the teaser is out? Is there anything that you guys are thinking?
No, I mean, you know, just if you want to fucking follow us on the various social medias, like we'll be posting updates and art and shit there. So, you know, flash gets on Instagram and Twitter or whatever. Like,
yeah, I mean, I would really take time to actually do that, because that goes a long way with just getting the word out and stuff. Like literally people reposting or doing that kind of stuff, it can reach people that have never seen any of the stuff before. So, you know,
here's one.
It does help.
For those of you that are fans of unspecified sci-fi properties that seem to have inspired this piece of work, and you follow channels that focus on said property,
good idea.
Yeah, you should go let those guys know, so we don't have to let them know, and then maybe they'll.
What is that? I feel like that could be a bit confusing. Are you saying they need to comment bomb other people's videos to spread awareness?
Absolutely.
Firebomb their comment sections. I think in terms of, I know what you're saying is like, if people are looking for suggestions for stuff and everything, I think that it'd be like direct the fan bases of those communities that would love this. Like, I think it's such an organic crossover that there's no way it could be imposing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll find some ham-fisted way to do that as well. Like go talk to those guys or something to get the word out. But
do you want an inside scoop on our new show?
Well, do you or what?
This could make your channel, you know.
We're looking for investors right now.
Angel seed.
Yeah. Well, man, do you guys got anything else, or are we good to wrap it up?
No. I just want to say thank you for all the kind words, man, and the guidance too over however long. And I'm glad we just got to have this moment, like recorded and shit. So I appreciate it.
Well,
Appreciate
I
everyone.
think it's going to be fun to have this, and I can't wait till the actual episode releases and we get to have kind of another conversation and kind of, it's going to be fun
That'd
to
be
be able
fun.
to see back and like the evolution of this conversation go. And I think that even the audience is going to have fun participating in that too. So I think it's cool all around. So, but until next time, everybody, we'll talk to you later.
Mwah. Goodbye.
Goodbye.